What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So I don't know if you could tell, but we are actually at a little bit of a different location because I had to move out of the shop that I was working out of because the lease was up and the landlord wouldn't let us renew the lease, and I'm pretty sure he just sold the building, so we got smoked out of that. So I'm actually at my cousin's house right now, and I got the car in the garage, and I'm gonna show you guys what we're dealing with right now. So the problem that we're having is I put the car all back together, put the turbo kit on and everything, and I'm having problems with it overheating. So what I think the problem is if you could see the radiator hoses, the top and the bottom one are on the same end tank, and I'm pretty sure this is supposed to have a divider in the middle so that the coolant has no choice but to cross the radiator and come back and then go back in the motor, but I don't think it has a divider because it's just a cheap eBay aluminum radiator. So I don't think it has a divider, so really it's just pushing hot coolant in the bottom and then blowing it right back out the top end of the motor, and it's not actually cooling anything because when the car's running, the radiator is still, like, it's warm but it's not hot, and it should definitely be hot because this side of the radiator you can't even touch it. So I'm pretty sure that's a problem I'm having. So what I'm going to have to do is take the bottom radiator hose, cut the fitting right off of it, weld it shut, and weld it on this side and run a crossover tube along the whole bottom of it. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm going to start draining the water and take the radiator out, and we're going to just get moving on this. Right now there's literally only water in the radiator, so I'm just going to pull it outside and pull it in the grass and just let it all drain out. Alright, so we're going to start out by taking off the intercooler and just exposing the whole front of the radiator so we could just pull the radiator right out. So I'm going to start grabbing the intercooler right now. I'm going to take this one right here that I made, and I'm going to run this tube across the bottom right here, and then this is going to get cut off right here, and I'm going to weld this cap on the end of here. The bottom radiator hose is going to go from here, instead of to this tank, it's going to go to this tank. So now the coolant has no choice but to pass the radiator to come back out. Alright, so now that I took the radiator off, I can kind of, with those pie cuts, I kind of know what I have to do. So I know how much room I have between my manifold and the crossover tube that I have to make. I'm going to set it all up, and I'm going to give it to my friend Dylan, who welded my wastegate and my intercooler piping. So I'm just going to drop everything off to him and have him weld it all for me so it comes out nice. Because I don't need it leaking or anything if I try to do it. What's going on? So we're back with the radiator. I'll show you guys what I had to do. And it was supposed to have a divider in the middle. So I cut this open to see if there was a divider in the middle, and there was, but there was a gap around the whole thing, so it wasn't even doing anything. Coolant was just coming in, passing through it, and coming right back out and not flowing through the radiator. Like, the radiator was filled with coolant, but it wasn't pushing the coolant through the radiator. It was just forcing it through the end tank, and it was coming out hot. So I cut that off and I welded that shut. I welded this back shut. And I drilled the hole out where the drain bolt was for this. So I don't have a drain right now, but I mean, all I have to do is take the bottom hose off and it'll drain. But I welded that to there. Actually, I didn't weld this. My friend Dylan welded this for me, who did my intercooler piping and my wastegate, which you guys hopefully have seen that. If you haven't seen that, go check out his other work that he's done for me on a bunch of my other stuff. So all I had to do was just weld this here and run this across, so now the coolant comes out of the car into here and has no choice but to come into this end tank and then pass through the radiator no matter what to come out. So we're going to put this back in. Oh, and I got a nice Moroso cap for my swirl pot. So we're going to do that today, and we're going to put this back in, and we're going to do all this and hope that it doesn't overheat anymore or it doesn't get too hot. Before we do anything, you know what we got to do. Okay, we can start working now. You can see right there, it actually fits really good right by everything. So I'm just gonna throw the intercooler and the front bumper back on, and I will pull it outside and bleed the coolant and everything, and then hopefully this is all good now. It definitely should be a lot better, but we're gonna go for a drive right now, and we're gonna watch the temps and make sure that it doesn't overheat. Right now it's at 190, and it stayed there for a little bit. But I'm just gonna drive around for a little bit. So I'm just gonna drive it around for a couple minutes and watch the temp and make sure that it stays nice and cool. Yeah, see, it's already down to 188. Perfect. So this should definitely be the last big problem we have before we go to the dyno. So I'm gonna call Kai out a little bit when I get home and tell him that I fixed the car, so that hopefully we can get to the dyno either later on today or maybe early tomorrow morning. But I'm gonna go for a drive for a little bit longer, and I'll let you guys know in a little bit how the temps are. Alright, so as you guys know, I was fighting that the issue where the car kept overheating, and I showed you how I fixed it and what I found out what was wrong. And it was a simple mistake that I just overlooked because I bought the manifold used, so I kind of just assumed it was already put together the right way. I gotta grab an SD card and some spark plugs, and we're gonna head to the dyno.